tell people, like, this is your time to ask questions, to press buttons, to play with things, like before you're in a case and somebody's yelling at you and you're really stressed and there's a patient on the table. So if at any point you want to like stop, ask a question, you want to press a button, you want to try something out or see how it works, like just stop me. Well, it's your time. Okay. So it's really fun. I always like to start by pointing out that the robot is in 3 components. Hopefully you know that by now, but you've got the vision cart, which is like the brains of the system. So it's where everything gets routed through and all of the processing happens. You've got the patient cart, which is what most people think of when they think of the robot. It's the operative component, so it's going to drive up over the patient. And then you've got the surgeon console, which is where the surgeon sits back there. They're all connected by those blue fiber optic cables, which you all saw during our troubleshooting demo. And the little caps on them, Diane's going to show you, pop off when you twist the little blue like flaps. And then they just line back on. You line the red line up to the red line and it plugs back in. Okay? You always want a cable going from the patient cart to the vision cart, and then the vision cart to the surgeon.
Red line.
That's the way
Open this up. There's a red line. Match them up.
Okay.
Always pull back to make sure that you're connected.
Perfect. To turn it on, there's a power button on each of the components. You can hit any of the power buttons, and if they're connected by those blue cables, everything should start up at the same time. Okay? It's going to go through its series of self-checks, so you'll see the arms on the surgeon console are going to do like a little dance and move around. They're just checking their range of motion, making sure they can do everything they need to do. And then the patient cart will do a little dance and they'll very much clicking. The clicking scares people a lot of the time. It's completely normal. Like, you should hear a series of things. You see on the screen it says self-collected progress. That is the self process. This is simple, let you know which sheet is
Da Vinci is ready.
That means you're good to go. The other thing you have to turn on is the Irby generator here. It's on a separate power circuit. It like syncs with the robot, but it has its own power button around the front. So you just turn it on, and you should get a little intuitive screen, and it'll start to load up. Okay. Each of the components needs to be plugged into their own dedicated circuit. Most of the time for most ORs, that means every red outlet, just put them in a red outlet and you tend to be fine. When you guys got your system and brought it in the room, I'm sure it was validated by your biomed people. Any questions on any of the startup process? Okay, cool. Well, let everybody stand up. We're going to go to the back of the vision cart real quick. So back here, you've got a lot of different cables. This tends to really scare people. It's really not that terrifying. They all have a spot. It all makes sense when you really look at it. The first thing I like to point out is that there is a circuit breaker down here. We saw it in the troubleshooting workshop earlier. It gets kicked a lot of the time, so if you ever have an issue with the system turning on and it's just not working, this is a good place to start. You want it to be towards the little line because that means you have power flowing through. Okay. Down here you've got your Ethernet cable. This is for on-site. So this connects you to the internet, and then that connects you to our engineers down in California. That means whenever you call the 1-800 number, our engineers can backdoor into your system and see exactly what's going on, exactly what error codes are coming up, anything like that. So you always want to have this plugged in because it's a service that you pay for, and if they can fix it, they can troubleshoot it on the phone with you. But they have to have it connected to see. Okay. Over here is where all these blue cables are plugged in. Right now you see we have 3 blue lights. That means the connections are right and they're reading properly. You should always have 3. You guys have this 4th blue cable right now for when the patient cart's on this side. We're going to recommend not bringing it on this side anymore. You should always be able to come from patient right. But as long as you have 3 blue lights, that means you're good. Okay? This cable here for this last blue light, it connects to your endoscope, so it's connecting all of your camera processing to the rest of the robot. It has this big tag that says do not disconnect, loss of vision will occur. Please don't unplug it, just leave it plugged in all the time. Down here, you have 3 energy pods. This is mainly used for like when a surgeon wants to use the harmonic instrument. So the harmonic generator will plug into one of these. The other time I see it used is if for some reason your Irby generator goes down and you want to use a force triad as like your backup energy. Joni said you guys don't have any of those right now, but if you did, it would plug in down here where it says energy. Okay. Up here, you've got 2 spots up here that say Tile Pro input, and then you've got 2 that say video output. The video output are going to take the image from the robot and put them on other screens, so like your ancillary monitors. The same thing is on the back of the surgeon console, which is where I'm pretty sure you guys are routing everything from right now. And that'll just take any of the robotic images and put them out on something. These 2 are Tile Pro inputs. Do you guys use that regularly here? Do you know? No. So where I see it used is like liver cases when they want to take an ultrasound probe and like find the tumor and then carve it out. You can route that like Aloka ultrasound image into the system and pull it up so it's showing up on the screen in the console while they're looking at the surgical field.
They put it in the tile. They
Yep.
use this one though.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use any of them. What do you guys use it for?
It's the ultrasound.
The ultrasound. For kidneys?
Yeah.
For partial infection too.
Yep. So it's the same thing. It just plugs in
Okay.
right here, right here. Any questions on any of this? Joni's got a picture of it, so if you ever come in and it's all disconnected, get her picture and you can plug it all back in. Okay? Okay, let's go back around to the front. And then everybody squeeze in like over here because we're gonna look at the touch screen and the scope. So like feel free to sit down though. So it's gonna be, yeah. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna plug in is the scope. It plugs in right here. If you're swapping between scopes, like a 0 and a 30 degree in a case, which Joni said some of the GYNs do, you can put the little scope handle right in that spot. It's like made to store it. And then pop it out and it just plugs right in. We are recommending that you guys plug this in as early as you can because that's gonna start heating the tip of the scope up. So like we talked about, you really don't wanna put a scope warmer on this scope for more than 5 minutes. It'll start to overheat all of the like microchips and computer processing parts down here in the tip. Just plug it in, that'll warm it up. You'll feel it as we go through the end service. Like if you feel the end, it'll be pretty warm, okay? On the scope, we've got a couple of different buttons. I like to think of them like lights, camera, action. So the first one, it's a light bulb. So what do you think it does? Turn light. Yep. Press and hold it, you're gonna see it flash a couple colors. That's it going through its white balance process. So unlike on the SI where you have to white balance and calibrate the scope, it's gonna do that all for you automatically, okay? You then press and hold it, and it'll turn right off. The next one looks like a little camera. What do you guys think that does? Takes a picture. So if you click it, right now it's gonna give me an error noise. To take a picture on our system, you have to have a USB flash drive plugged in here. Most hospitals don't use it because they route the image through their Stryker system and that'll automatically let them save things to the patient chart. If you're using a flash drive, somebody has to take it out at the end of the case, run it down to the desk, print it off, and then put everything in the patient chart. So I don't see it used super frequently, okay? The last one is our action button. It looks kind of like a little eyeball. It also kind of looks like a target. So if we check on the screen here, we've got this spot where it says left eye and right eye, with the little symbol that matches the one on the scope. So our endoscope has 2 optical channels running down it, so you should see that. That's what allows the image in the surgeon console to be 3-dimensional. So it takes both of those images, overlays them, and it gives the surgeon depth perception back. You only ever get to see one of those images out here because this screen is 2-dimensional. So if you're scrubbed in and you want to switch between those optical channels, you can press this button and you're gonna see it switch on the screen. This is really great because sometimes the surgeon is complaining about like a giant smudge across the screen and you're staring at this screen going, looks pretty clear. I don't know what you're talking about. So if you switch the eyes, you'll then see the smudge was on the opposite side. The same thing works where like everybody is one eye dominant. And so if there's a really big smudge on the right eye, but your surgeon is left eye dominant, It's not really gonna bother them sometimes, but if you're staring at the screen and you can't see anything while you're assisting, you can always just hit that button and it's gonna swap to the other eye so that you can see. Yeah, it's not gonna affect their image because they're always seeing both at the same time, so it's only gonna change your screen out here. Any questions on that? Okay, the last thing I'd like to point out, we have a 0-degree scope right now. So me like spinning this doesn't really matter. But on a 30-degree scope, you always want this base pointed towards the ceiling when you're using it to like place ports like a lap scope. When it's upside down like this, your image on the screen is going to be upside down. So I always tell people to remember it. You always want a happy bunny on your scope. It kind of looks like a bunny. People think it's really cheesy, but like they remember it. So happy bunny on your scope is what we want. Any questions on the endoscope? Don't break it. Please don't break it. It's like $25,000, so try to avoid that. That's all. The other thing I like to point out is when you're like cleaning up or putting things away, don't set it like this. A lot of the times people will do that and then they'll start stacking things on top of it. And because this is now like a digital scope, you don't have very much in the shaft of this endoscope. It's pretty hollow. So when you set it like this and then stack, you tend to bend it. It'll bend really easily. So, yeah. Have you all held the scope before compared to the SI? It's like 2 pounds instead of 12, which is really nice.
We also ordered new trays.
I heard. This is great. The metal ones aren't working for you. These aren't new. We just came out with them 2-3 weeks ago.
We've had a couple of holes because when we're using the 600
Yeah.
weight.
That's what Jeff
they're
said.
not as secure. I feel like if somebody wants all the ports and things in, they just.
Well, this piece kind of flops around.
So the plastic ones are the old ones?
I know. What's that?
So the plastic one is the older version then, like we're using today?
Oh, this one just came out like I said, like 3 weeks
Oh,
ago.
okay.
And so I don't know how many. I haven't seen it at a lot of hospitals
Yeah,
yet.
we got one for each of us those. We don't want to lose them, so.
Do we still have the old ones? Like you were able to get them? Okay.
$1,000.
Makes you feel any better? I had a hospital accidentally throw all theirs away when they got their new robot. They didn't notice it and they just threw them all in the dumpster and they like went through the trash compactor. Had to order all new ones because they trash compacted all of their scope boxes. They didn't think it through.
That's
So
That won't be us.
that wasn't you guys.
You'll be in the dumpster getting that stuff out.
hold me by my feet.
Okay, we're gonna go through the touch screen now. So the first thing I like to point out, across the bottom of the screen, we've got a pod for each instrument that corresponds, each of the numbers, with an arm on the robotic, like patient arm. Okay? Right now, number 2 looks different because it's the last place our endoscope was installed. It's gonna tell you the degrees, like what scope you have. If you have a 30, it'll have a little arrow up or a little arrow down, so you know if you're in 30 up or 30 down. It's also going to tell you the degrees of Trendelenburg or left or right side down that the patient is in when you mirror the bed. So if the surgeon's ever questioning like what the patient's in, you can always tell them to look at the bottom of the screen. The exact number of degrees will always be there for them as long as the system's mirrored to the bed. Okay? Right now we've got 2 highlighted pods, and this one's not. Anybody know why that is?
Fourth arm wasn't draped before.
That's not it. Good guess.
What did you say? It's not great.
It wasn't
It
draped
wasn't great for
before.
our last case.
It's not
What is
it.
the case selection?
Nope. How many hands do you have?
Oh, we're gonna have 2.
2 hands, so you can only ever control 2 instruments at a time. So I like to point this out. It's highlighted on these 2 because those are the active instruments that the surgeon like would be controlling if you were docked. Sometimes, like you were kicking that arm swap pedal earlier, the surgeon will accidentally switch over to the other arm and they'll sit there and go, my instrument's not working. Arm 3, my instrument in arm 3 is not working. And it's grayed out. That means they've accidentally kicked over. Just tell them to kick the arm swap pedal and they'll switch back.
Oh, and that's how you kept knowing I need to kick it again.
Yep,
Okay.
because I could see on the bottom of the screen you kept jumping back over.
So you're only ever going to have 2 highlighted.
Only ever have 2 highlighted. Yep. So it's one of those things that people don't think happens frequently, and like in cases, and it happens all the time. So, yeah. Moving over here, the first thing you have up here says messages visible. If you have any messages, they're going to come across right up here. I always recommend reading those messages. Like it was really helpful in our troubleshooting workshop earlier. If you read the messages, you kind of knew what was going on. Some of them aren't as useful. So if you hit that messages visible button, it would switch if we had any and see messages hidden, which means they go away from across the top of the screen. So like the blue fiber cables need cleaning message that we got earlier. If you're in the middle of the case and that comes up, you can just hide it by clicking messages hidden so it's not in the surgeon's field of view. Okay?
So do messages at the top always refer to around the room and at the bottom always refer to what the surgeon's doing? You know how they come up right above like 1 and 3 and that?
The messages at the top tend to be system-wide messages. So it's like the blue fiber cables all need cleaning, or they'll say like training instruments not for human use, like things that are more system-wide. Any messages that you get down here are going to be like arm specific, not necessarily surgeon specific, but they'll go with like the exact arm. And then the only other messages you'll get, and we'll talk about it later, is when you get like a fault, it'll come up along the sidebar here. That'll be like a big system-wide message as well. That's a good way of thinking of it. Moving down, you have this little 4 square space here. It says console, endoscope, tile pro 1, and tile pro 2. It's always going to default to console view. That means you are seeing the exact same thing on this screen as the surgeon is seeing in the console, like icons, messages, and all. I recommend just leaving it. Like, don't ever change that because you get more information and you know what the surgeon's saying when you're looking at the same thing. Endoscope's going to take away most of the graphics, image, like messages, things like that. They'll just go away. You'll just be seeing the view from the endoscope. And then Tile Pro 1 and Tile Pro 2 will just show you like the ultrasound when you have it plugged in for Tile Pro. So the whole screen will be the ultrasound. The great thing about console view is that if the surgeon turns Tile Pro on and is using it, you'll still see it down here because it's the same thing that they're seeing in the console. So there's no reason really to switch to Tile Pro 1 or Tile Pro 2. Does that make sense? Giving a lot of nods. Moving down, left and right eye. The next thing here you see is an illuminator button. That's going to turn our scope on and off. Down here you have a brightness slider. Right above that you have this button that looks like a little lightning bug. That's for Firefly. Do you guys use that here?
Yeah.
Can anybody tell me what it is? Somebody explain. What Firefly is? Yeah.
It's measuring the androgen green chemical that's injected into the patient so we can have visualization of vessel.
Yep. Perfect. They use it a lot in Cole's for like biliary duct identification. You'll also see it a lot in colorectal for like bowel perfusion. You can turn it on here. The surgeon can also do that from the console. Most of the things that you can do on this touchscreen, they can also do from the console, so that's good to keep in mind.
They always do it.
The one thing I like to point out is there's this little slider down here, and this is something that most surgeons don't remember exists because we teach them it, and then they're like learning a ton of stuff at the same time, and they don't remember the slider. And it can be really great, like if you're trying to identify like the biliary ducts, but the liver is really bright because it absorbs a lot of that dye. You can turn the slider down, and it'll kind of dim out like how bright that green is, so it'll dim out the liver a little bit. And the same thing works in reverse, like you can turn it up. So I see like GYNs who do sentinel lymph node dissections with ICG. Sometimes it's under a lot of fatty tissue, and if you turn that slider all the way up, they're a little brighter so you can see it better. So this is a really great way for you guys bedside to add value because most surgeons forget that that's even there. So if you notice they're struggling, you could be like, oh hey, you can turn that up. Like, let me show you. It works out really well. So, any questions on that? Or this first tab? Okay, we'll keep cruising then. The next one looks like a bunch of slider bars. It's our settings tab. It's where you can change things. So we click that. At the top there, you see we've got our uses remaining. I noticed during the cases earlier, you guys were really good about checking and seeing how many lives were left. These all count down, and we had training instruments installed on the robot earlier, so it's counting from 30. Most of your instruments are going to count from 10, and it'll say like 3 of 10. That means you have 3 uses left on that instrument. And here you've got 29 of 30 on both of these, so we have 29 more training uses on these instruments. Any questions on that, the countdown? Down here we have video input output. This was one of our troubleshooting scenarios earlier that Matt came up with. He was very excited about. For you guys, for your system routing, it goes through the composite S-Video SD SDI cable because that's the type of cable that you have plugged into the back of the Surgeon console. Those are going to go away if you switch it to DVI. You notice now all your screens are like funky color bars. So you just always want it reading from that composite S-Video SDI. So, perfect. Now it's all happy. Okay. Another thing I like to point on at this page is this graphics on button. It's not going to default to be on, but once you turn it on, every time you turn your system on and off, it should be on. That's going to give you all of the graphics on your ancillary monitors, which are really helpful because, like, we'll talk about the tiger stripes later and things like that, but those won't show up unless the graphics are all on here. So you just want to make sure you leave that on. Okay. Moving forward, we've got this troubleshooting tab. Click that, and at the top, you have a spot to manually white balance the scope. You guys should never have to do that. I don't talk people through it because if they ever have to do it, you're calling DV Stat and they're walking you through it on the phone, and it's because you have one sterile scope left and you have to do the case and like you have to figure out what's going on. If you ever have an issue like that with the white balancing, I would just send the scope out and get it. But you have that option here. Earlier, we also messed with this color bars, so you can make it more blue, make it more red. If this is all messed up, you can always hit the restore video defaults. It's going to bring it back to normal so your endoscope image is normal, the way it should look. And below that, you have this button that says display event logs. Click on that, and it's going to pull up the lines of computer code that have happened ever since you like turned your system on. This is not fun. So you guys remember that on-site cable I showed you that should be plugged in the back? If that's not plugged in and you call DV Stat and they can't figure out what's wrong with your system, they're going to ask you to pull this up and start reading off these lines of code. And they'll be like, can you read line 5, P1? 2. And like, they'll ask you to read different things so they can try and figure out what's wrong. It's a lot easier if you just leave the cable plugged up in the back and stay connected. So, nobody likes going through this. To close it, you hit close event logs and it goes away. Right here, you have this SK3072. That is your system number. I was talking to Joni about getting it put on, like labeled on the side of the robot somewhere. It's on a sticky note somewhere around here.
In the cupboard right
In
now.
the cupboard right now. Hopefully we'll put it on the side of the robot. But that's that number, so when you call our 1-800 number, the first thing they're gonna ask you is what hospital you're at, and then what's your system name or number. Because that's how they know which one to log into in the back. So that's this SK3072. Okay? Any questions on that? We always recommend calling our DV Stat like helpline before you call anybody else, because if you call Jeff, number one, he's not always going to answer. Our DV Stat helpline is supposed to answer within 15 seconds, so they will pick up like pretty quickly. And then number two, the DV Stat people are the ones who have to make like an engineer summary and like dispatch your field service engineer. So to get Steven out here to fix anything, it has to go through the DV Stat system. So you can call Jeff and he can tell you what's wrong, but he's not going to be able to send out an engineer. So then either he has to call DV Stat or you do anyways. So it's always good just to start with that. Go in the first place. So moving on, we've got our table button. It's got a little yellow arrow. If you see, or I guess it's a little caution sign. If you guys see that, that means your system is not paired yet. It tells you integrated table motion, not paired. You guys got the wonderful fancy bed, and I'm looking for the remote. Do you see it? Okay. So to pair the bed, when you're using like the table here, you can only ever use the buttons that are lit up. So it's never gonna let you do anything. Like I can't move the bed right now at all because we're not paired, and I haven't said that we're not docked to a patient. So your options right now are to use it without DaVinci, the DV with a slash through it, or to use it with DaVinci. If we're using it with DaVinci, you click that button, and then on the screen, it's gonna ask you to pair it. You have 10 seconds. Tori, will you pop up and just hit that pair button for me? 10 seconds to hit it. It's gonna create a wireless pairing. then you'll get that message. You're paired, you're good to go. You don't have to like repair in between every case. I get that question a lot. Once you're paired at the beginning of the day, you should be set for the entirety of the day. Any questions on that? Okay. The last tab we have right here is our guided setup tab. If you take absolutely nothing away from my exercise, remember this tab. It's going to walk you through step by step what you need to do to get set up to do a robotic case. So the first thing it's telling us to do is that we need to deploy the boom, because we need to deploy the arms up to drape it. We're going to keep pointing back to this menu throughout as we go, because it's going to show you all of the arms that you need to drape. It's going to tell you to select the anatomy. It's going to tell you to dock your camera cord and like install your camera. So it's going to walk you through every step. So if you're ever like getting ready and you don't remember what's next, you don't remember what to do, you can look at the screen and it's going to give you pretty much the answer. Any questions on that or anything on this touch screen? Okay.
I have one on the remote.
Yeah.
So everybody always complains about it, but you have to hit the not paired
Yeah.
button all the time. And is it, what we've kind of figured out is you do the not paired, no, we're not docked. You have to hold the button for 3 seconds or something like that?
To make it move.
Yeah, or to make it lock,